Drying. Let's talk about motors and motor mounting. Now first I'm going to show you the motor mount pieces that we're including in the kit. Now what we're including is a foam motor mount plate and an optional plywood etched motor mount plate. Now these two pieces give you maximum flexibility in the types of motors that you can mount onto your EPP Extra. Let me show you how to use this for a couple of different setups. Now this is the recommended motor. This is the Hacker A10-9L. Hacker A10-9L comes with a couple of different mounts. In this case, we're showing the phenolic fiberglass G10 mount. And what the most basic mounting system for this aircraft is, and this is recommended for indoor use and for lightweight setups, is to glue the G10 mount onto the EPP mount plate with welder's glue, just like so, and then just install it on the aircraft. Let me show you how that setup turns out. This is our sample aircraft here, and you can see on the front, this is the recommended motor using the G10 phenolic fiberglass mount. It's glued onto the front with welder's glue. It's extremely simple. This is a very crash-worthy setup. It's also extremely light. Now, it's not the most crash-worthy setup. If you're flying outdoors and you plan to crash into concrete or trees a lot, you might want to investigate something else. But just for a moment, let's talk about a lightweight indoor high-performance setup. This is the recommended way to mount the motor on the front of the aircraft. And what you're going to find is this is going to give extreme vertical performance on a 2-cell battery with an 8x4-3 prop. Excellent throttle response. It's a really high-quality, high-performance setup. Okay? Now, let's talk about the alternate setups. The Hacker also includes a metal type mount, and there are a lot of other outrunners on the market that use a metal X type mount. Here's some common ones. Okay, if you want to use one of those motors, what you'll do is you'll use both pieces of the included motor mount. You'll use the foam and you'll use the plywood, and you'll install them on the front of the aircraft, and we're going to show you what that looks like when it's completed. Okay, and here's how the plywood mount system looks once it's glued up to the aircraft. And in this case, we're using a pair of screws to mount this particular Turnigy motor on the front. And you can mount a variety of motors that use a metal mounting system with 2 or 4 screws. And there's a pass-through hole because a lot of these motors have shafts that protrude out the back a little bit. So we need a place for the shaft to sit. And so it goes just like that. Okay? And you can mount many dozens of different kinds of available brushless motors just like this on the front of the aircraft. Okay? Now I'll talk about the third type of mount. So, for durability, this is a really popular mounting style. Now, these are pieces that are available from Hobby King and some other suppliers. This is a Turnigy 2730-1500 brushless motor, and this is a plastic stick-style mount. Okay? Now, this is only this type of mount is usable with a motor that has a bearing tube. Okay? And they typically also come with a flat firewall piece. Okay? Works like that. And the way that you mount one of these onto the aircraft, if you want to use one, is we're simply going to cut a slot. Okay? You can see exactly where the slot will go. All we're going to do is we're going to take our hobby knife, and we're just going to cut this slot right here so that we can glue this into the horizontal fuselage piece. And then we'll also have to remove this tab right here from the upper fuselage part of the aircraft. Have to cut that off so it doesn't interfere. And that's all that it takes to install the tube style mount. Now, why are we not recommending the tube style mount for everyone? Well, the tube style mount is right for some people, for some applications. If you already own this type of motor and it has the bearing tube, and that's the only mount that you have, then that's a practical setup you can install in the aircraft. But the reason why it's not our #1 recommended power system is because we'll fire up our trusty little gram scale, because the scale doesn't lie. Now, the recommended setup with the Hacker motor, A109L, provides lots of vertical performance. It's very, very satisfying vertical. And keep in mind that this is a small aircraft. The weight without live poly, the range that we like to fly these in, is basically 5 to 6 ounces without live poly. And every place we can save weight, as long as it's a practical place to save weight, really helps. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you the weight of these two different mounting setups. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to weigh these two setups. First, we're going to weigh the recommended Hacker A109L motor on the EPP foam block mount using the phenolic fiberglass X mount. And we'll drop that on the gram scale, and that's 15 grams. That's about ½ an ounce. Now we're going to take the Turnigy 2730 motor on the plastic stick mount, and that's 30 grams, so about 1 ounce. So in making the decision about which power system to use, just keep in mind that we're trying to save grams on an airplane this size to increase our performance, and here's a way to make a decision about ½ an ounce instantaneously. If you're going to be flying this outside over concrete and you're going to be crashing into concrete a lot, then yeah, this can make some sense, because this motor system can just be pushed back into the tube. You can loosen the screw, pull it back out, and it's great if you're just starting out and you're going to be crashing into a lot of solid objects. But once you get a little better and you're looking for a little more high performance on the airplane, this setup is great for power production, and it's really light and weight efficient, and that's why we like it on the aircraft. Now, if you're a little concerned and you say, I may not be that good, I might be crashing more than is expected with this, then don't worry. The Hacker motor also comes with a metal X mount, which you can install in place of this fiberglass one, and then you would screw that onto the plywood mount like we showed you on the other aircraft, and that'll be even more durable. So you can actually move up as you go. You can always remove the ply when you want to and go to the fiberglass phenolic G10 mount. So lots of options here, lots of options. And if you're not sure about which one you might want to use, call us at 3D Hobby Shop, or PM us or email us, and we'll help you explore your options. All right? Okay, so now we're going to move on to fuselage assembly. What we're going to do is we have our completed horizontal fuselage with wing assembly, and now we're going to install the bottom half of the fuselage onto it. And what we're going to do is we're going to apply a bead of welder's glue to the mounting flange on the bottom half of the fuselage here. Need to clean a little bit of dried welder's glue off the end of the tube. That'll make things a little better. Okay. Apply a healthy bead of welders there. This is an important joint, so we're not going to skimp too much on the glue this time. Other places we can skimp on glue and save a little weight, but this we want to get a good healthy bead of glue. At least an 1/8 inch in diameter on this bead. We want to go over all of the mounting surface. We'll leave the tabs alone because they stick up through, and we're not trying to glue the plane to the building board, but we'll go on all the flat horizontal surface here. What we're going to do then is we're going to push this into the mounting tabs. Make sure you find the right set of tabs to start, and when you do, it'll match up front to back. Okay. We'll squeeze that down in there, spread the glue around. Okay, spread the glue, and then we're going to pull it back off. I'm going to place another bead of glue on the horizontal fuselage where I just touched the other part down. A little bit of glue right there on the mating surface. Okay. Let those dry just for 10 or 15 seconds. and then we'll press them together. Okay. Okay. And we make sure everything is all centered up. And we want to sight along our fuselage here and make sure it's straight up and down. If we need to, we can use a couple of right angle pieces. In this case, I'm using a couple of brushless motor boxes, and we can make sure that it stays perfectly level and straight during the drying process. Okay, so once we're sure that it's all pressed down, it's all sticking, we can let that dry about 30-45 minutes. Alright, so after our fuselage pieces, horizontal and the lower vertical, have dried, we're going to do something that you may not be used to if you're into EPP foamies, but this is a big performance enhancement. What's included in your kit is a thin piece, it's just about 1 millimeter in diameter, stiffening rod that we're going to cut up and make diagonal bracing out of. So what we're going to do is we're going to start making this bracing, and we're going to start from the tail. So the first step in making this bracing is to lay your bracing rod up against a good quality ruler, and we're going to cut two pieces that are 5 inches long. And the way we cut it is we roll it under a hobby knife and then just crack it off. And we'll make these two pieces the same length, 5 inches. Roll it under the hobby knife and just crack it off. Blow the dust off of there. And what we're going to do, I'm going to make sure you can see this really well here. We're going to move the camera and spend a little time here. Because on your 33-inch EPP Extra kit, we have a feature on here. What we have are dots. Here, right here, here on the fuselage. Count these off for you. Another one here, another one here, 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 and finally right there on the wing. Those are the landing points for your diagonal bracing rods. So what we're going to do is we take the diagonal bracing rod, and make sure you can see this clearly on the video, and we push them into the wing, in this case into the horizontal stabilizer a little bit. We rotate them to push them in, and then we push it into the other dot on the other side so that it's floating in between, and there's about an 1/8 inch of diagonal bracing rod stuck in each side. This is how the bracing rods are going to sit in the fuselage. Do the same thing on the other side. Push it into the dot. There's a matching dot right here, so that it's sitting about an 1/8 inch into each piece of foam. And this is our first set of bracing rods. These are the ones that are going to hold the horizontal stab in relation to the rest of the aircraft. And the way that we install them, we'll pull this one back out, and what we're actually going to do is just dip the bracing rod into the tip of the welder's glue, about a 1/4 inch or so. I might have got a little bit much on there that time, but we'll dip it in about 1/4 inch and get some glue on there, get a little ball of glue on the end, and then we just push it back into the foam right on the correct dot. Okay, now we'll go with the other side. Alright, make sure you can see this on film. Going to dip the bracing rod tip, last 1/4 inch, into the glue, dip it into the glue, and we're going to push it into the foam so that it's sitting about an 1/8 inch in each side. Okay, and when the welder's glue dries, that's going to be really nice and strong. What we're going to do is we're going to continue up the fuselage in a diagonal crisscross pattern, and I'll show you the different lengths. Each of these two rear ones are 5.0 inches, and now we'll go up the aircraft. Okay, so we're going to put the glue on the next one. The next one is 4 3/4. 4 3/4. And so we go from this point here down to the next dot, rotate them to drill them in a little bit if you need to, and when it's done you want it to be in the foam about an 1/8 inch. Okay, now we'll go on to the next one. Okay, we'll do the next one. The next one is 6 inches. 6 inches. And we'll go from right here, leaving a little bit of gap in between the two, and push into the next dot, just like that. Okay, so we have 5. We'll show you, go over what the lengths are. The ones that brace the tail, 5 inches apiece. The next one, 4 3/4. The next one, 6 inches. Okay, and we'll move on from there. All right, moving on. Next one is 5 1/2. 5 1/2. Okay, second to last one here, 4 3/4. 4 3/4. And the final piece is 7 1/4. And this braces the main wing to the fuselage, so we want this to be a really good joint here next to the main spar, and we want to get a good joint here on the fuse. And then once we're done, we can certainly take a little bit of welder's glue and just put a little dab right there and right there, because that is such a critical joint to brace the fuselage to the main wing right there. Alright, so we'll let this dry for a little while, and the diagonal bracing is done. Diagonal bracing is light, strong. It's extremely effective in keeping the aircraft from twisting or bending in harsh maneuvers, and this is a big contributor to the precision of this particular design. You see the diagonal bracing on the top indoor competition foam aircraft, and we're using it here on the Extra. Scott specified this for the design, and it's a nice improvement, so we recommend that you do use it.